like an oxymoron because we need to sell in order to get clients, but it's more about the process we go through in order to get those clients. And terminology matters here. People say selling and they think pushing, convincing, overcoming objections, using techniques to convince someone to buy. And so that selling has a bad connotation or a negative connotation in people's minds, especially if you're the business owner. Today, in fact, I've had 3 different conversations with new clients who were all referred to me, who proactively came to me, and they've been trying to sell. They've been sold different marketing systems, and their process was to essentially go out and use different tools in order to sort of push sell, if you like, with their clients. And funnily enough, it's not working. So they've been referred to us in order to learn pull marketing, and I'll explain what that is in just a moment. So it doesn't mean we don't do a process of selling. It's just that we're not trying to sell. We're allowing customers to buy. And that's actually quite different. So I want to explain that concept a little bit later, because business owners like it better, customers like it better, and funnily enough, it works better for everybody. So, we found that it's a much more effective system. So I'm going to go through that and how we do it at our company. And as I said, I've been running my business for over 12 years, more like 15 years. And this is actually how we've been running for all that time. Most businesses don't make it to 10 years. We're at 15 already. Okay, so let me go through some slides here so we can progress. Now, if you do have any questions during the process, just stick a hand up or raise a comment, and we'll get to those as we go. Happy to answer as we go through the process. Now, so just to be completely transparent, I like to be very sort of, honest in these calls. Social Star's about $1 million in business, and I am the one salesperson. Now, we are training our team to go through this process and assist us with the process, but at the moment it's me. And so this is what I do in order to, have our business turning over that sort of revenue. Now, if I add in our client sales, that's, and a lot of people do say that, I've generated $1 billion of sales for other people. Really can't account for that. Like I've got a large logistics business. They operate internationally. We help them with marketing. We help them with sales training. But, is it all me? No, it's not. However, with Social Star, it is all me because we do the marketing, we do the sales. I talk to every single customer. And so that's where I can really give you the insights of what works and what doesn't. I can tell you it works for our clients, but there's also other things that work in that regard. So other processes, there's other influences that work. So I like to say it's no BS. Everything I say is real and works. All right. Now, I do want to tell you a little bit more about me, and I will just give you a little bit of my story because I think it's important for context in sales. I started my corporate career at Hewlett-Packard. I worked at IBM and I worked at Census. Now, it's a combination of sales and marketing roles during my time there. However, I can tell you that during that time, I was responsible for mainframe computers at IBM. In HP marketing, I used to look after a business that did, $1 million a week in sales. And I had to do a lot of sales training, a lot of direct sales, and I was involved in lots of different deals. So I have done sales. I've done, lots of different types of selling. I've done solution selling in software. I was a software salesperson at HP. I've done hardware, channel. I've even done door-to-door sales when I very first started in business. My very first job, in fact, was at my family business, which is my grandfather started it, called R.H. Grierson, and we sold office products, pens and pencils, paper. And my grandfather pushed me out the door one day with some catalogs and said, go door to door and try and sell your wares. I soon realized that was very difficult and didn't work particularly well. And then I learnt the process I'm teaching you now, which is called E-ttraction, which didn't have a name back then, but essentially was you treat people well, you be helpful, and they will buy. So you don't have to push. What you do is have to be of value and have something they want, and that they will come to you. right? That's the law of attraction. That works the same in every different industry. It's not just in sales. So that's my corporate career. I've done a few startups. So Social Star is my first one. I also did Tribe Digital, which is an influencer platform. And the reason I mentioned that is that, that's sort of similar to the attraction philosophy. We set up a platform for big companies to engage with influencers who would then post on their social media and have people wanting to be interested in their products. And they had a lot of big companies, Lenovo and a bunch of others that I was actually an influencer for back in the day. So sold out of that business early on, moved on to doing Campus Life, which was a student platform to help them get experience in the marketplace before they go on to work in their future career, which I'm still running now, and also teach at universities. So I don't just do marketing, I teach it. I did 15 years of business school, and I've been teaching probably, well over 10 years at various institutions at master's level, in MBA programs, and also in undergrad in marketing. So I do a lot of advanced training on marketing. So what I say comes with academic rigor, but it also comes from practice of doing it for myself. Okay, so that was the part about me, just for those who haven't yet been acquainted. And I want to just talk about this. So if people who are on the webinar can grab their phones and just scan this QR code, this is a charitable organisation that we're involved in. They're called B1G1. And we call it providing micro impacts for people. So if you, just for being here today, if you scan that code, we will provide an impact to one of these three groups. And some of them are in critical need. So we will pay for that. No cost to you. They won't email you. It's really just a thing we do as part of our, company giving. And it's relatively new. We've only been doing it for about a year because, I used to be a single consultant, but now we're an organization. We can afford to do these types of great things. I know the founders of this company. I've known them for over 15 years now. And it's a wonderful organization. So I hope you will take part in that and do a micro giving on our behalf. Okay, so I want to go through our attraction philosophy. Now, this is important. I have this at the front of every slide deck because it's a philosophy that is worth knowing. And if it resonates with you, then the rest of the material will make sense. If it doesn't, then it's probably not going to make sense to you. So the traditional type of marketing and sales approach is push. Now, so I did sales. I was trained to bust down the door, don't take no for an answer. Deals are won on the 10th or 12th call. And people just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and sometimes that deal happens. But what I always say to people is, what happens to the other people who don't buy with your brand? Are you annoying people? If you've annoyed 20 people to get one deal over the line, that's 20 people you have a bad reputation with. That's 20 people who are not going to give you a referral because they don't want their friends and colleagues to be sold to and badgered in order to buy something, right? People forget about the brand reputational damage of doing bad marketing. And I've seen this tons and tons of times with clients. And in fact, two of the clients I just got off the calls with today have all recounted almost horror stories of investing good money with people who haven't given them the right advice. They've been working with them, they haven't got the results, and they're interested in our different approach. And all of them say it's a different approach. So because I'm telling them not to sell, I'm telling them to attract. Don't get me wrong, it's no less work. There is work involved. It takes effort, but it's different types of effort, and I'm going to tell you why it's more valuable, I believe, in the long-term future of your business. So if you want to make a quick buck, this is not for you. If you're interested in developing a long-term positive brand in the marketplace that people want to give you referrals, then this is the type of process that works best. So instead of push marketing, which is, the needle in the haystack, you're trying to dig down and spend frenetic energy going yes, no, yes, no, yes, no with different clients, calling, email, LinkedIn message. We don't want to do that. what we want to do is be smart and strategic and well-founded and stand outside with a magnet, right? You want to be the magnet. You want people to come to you. Now, how do we do that? Well, that's where the effort comes in, right? Well, I'll tell you how our process works. But essentially, it's far better to stand there and have the customer, the employee, the partner, the investor come towards you because they see the value in you. Now, think about this. When you're trying to position yourself in the market, and we work with professional services people, if you're there in the market and you have to cold call people or you are having to follow them up all the time, every time you do that, your brand slips a little bit. You become less valuable. You know, in no time, in no universe would Ferrari message you coldly, give you a phone call, chase you down the street if you're not buying the Ferrari. If you go to the Ferrari showroom, you're lucky if they will engage you to buy a car. They don't sell it to everybody. They only sell it to the people that match their brand. It's hard to buy a Ferrari. Any luxury product is the same. You want to be that luxury product where people come in and apply to work with you, right? But that doesn't come easily. Ferrari didn't just take their first average car and just chuck it in a showroom. That happened. They built this up over years and generations of producing good quality products for a high price, but doing great marketing and having great resale value on their cars, etc. There's a lot that goes into building a brand. So it takes effort and cost, money and time. But when you get to be that magnet and you're getting referrals, it's so much better. And I kid you not, after running my business 15 years, I feel very fortunate that people refer me, and that's how we get our business. They call me, Andrew, would you work with me? I've got this problem. That's a great position to be in, but it didn't start out like that day one. I had to earn that right by doing good work with people and having products and processes and being genuinely helpful. All right, so the philosophy is we want to pull, not push. We don't want to sell, we want to have people buy. All right, now, does it work for everybody? It does, but it works better for service-based businesses where you're selling a high-value, low-volume product. So what I mean by that is I work with speakers, who are targeting large amounts of money to speak on stage, high-end consultants, professional services, doctors, accountants, mortgage brokers, those sorts of people where they're not selling widgets. If you're selling widgets, another approach, digital marketing is probably going to be better. We're selling high volume, low value products. So this is the opposite. This is for valuable people who are generally, they are the product, they're providing a service. So this is just some of those examples. I've worked with all of these veterinarians. We've worked with architects, a whole range of professional services, lots of IT consultants, because I've come from that space, allied health, all of those sorts of people are our bread and butter of marketing. My favorite is corporate escapees, who I help to start and scale a business because we can start from scratch and craft their brand properly from the get-go, rather than them go down the track and build lots of stuff that we have to go in and change. Okay, now, I normally go through this. I'm just going to tell you where this fits in this process. I'm not going to go through this in detail. We've done other webinars on this. So the first thing is you need to understand what you want. Very important. Goals are critical, right? What do you really want? Not just more money, growth, sale of products. I mean, specifically, what do you want, as in how many, with whom, when, not just when day of the week, but also in the year. Sometimes people want, I want to be so full of clients, and they get full of clients and like, wow, I'm so busy, I can't get a holiday. You've got to be careful what you wish for in your goals. So we do that work and we do that planning properly because we're marketers and we want to have great building blocks of our knowledge, and that's where the gold comes from, is doing that proper research. And that's really in the understand phase. Then we build the platform for you to market. So you have to have the right places for people to see what you're great at. Simple things: website, LinkedIn. It could be other social media like Facebook and Instagram. Could be a podcast. Could be YouTube videos, etc., etc. Right? Depends. Everyone's slightly different. In fact, I just spoke to a speaker just before, and he's spent all his money on doing marketing, And I'm like, his LinkedIn's not good. It's got a bad photo. It's not well positioned. Doesn't tell me what he's great at. But he's got 20,000 followers, right? And so he's got a lot of followers, just not utilizing them. It's not positioning himself well. I don't know why I should go to him. And that's a critical mistake. So even though he's got some good things, it's, he hasn't built his platform correctly. Then the bit that we're going to talk about today is the leverage, right? The leverage is when we are going into the selling or the E-traction part. And leverage is where you've got all those things in place and you're just converting it. So you've already got the platform, you've already got the audience, but you need to convert it into sales, right? We all need to have people paying us money in order to run a business. A business that doesn't make money is a hobby. Okay, so that's where it fits in the leverage phase. Okay, now, this is our sales funnel, and I want to talk about this in a little bit of detail because it's critically important to understand some of these concepts. Now, for those who've done sales, you'll understand what a funnel is. A funnel is a process to take a prospect from cold into sale, and hopefully a repeat sale, happy client who's going to refer you. Now, this process can work really quickly or it can be slow. Depends on the customer and depends on the product. I've had people call me and in one day want to buy. I've had people who've been on my, I've had our first call and a year later they'll come back and finally decide that we're the right partner. That's not the point, is the time. It's the steps in the process everybody goes through. And when I don't follow my own process, which happens sometimes because I get busy and lazy, it doesn't work. So for instance, when they're cold people don't know who you are. No one can buy from you if they don't know who you are. So the first step in the process is awareness. Now, you might know the AIDA model, awareness, interest, desire, action. This is the same steps in the process. So cold, the first step is awareness. Now, awareness is not a sale. Awareness is just awareness. So we have marketing systems in order to just get them aware of who you are. And then we stop. So it's important that we allow rest breaks in the sales process. Yeah. So I just want to repeat that because that's very important. We want to give them time to go back and think before we go to the next step. Now, this is probably the opposite of every sales trainer out there, is they say, get them to sign on the dotted line. I've worked with people like this, and they're like, when they're enthusiastic, you've got to get their signature, get their credit card, lock them into the contract. I just don't believe in that philosophically. I don't want to be treated like that. I don't want someone to do that to me. I don't want to do that to other people. People should voluntarily want to work with you because they see the value. Sure, if they want to spend some money, fantastic. But I will not let them spend their money at the cold stage. I have people who will refer to me, and when they're referred, they go from cold to warm from not me, it's from the other people. So a client might say to somebody, you should talk to Andrew. That's when the client breaks from cold to warm because they know a name. Who's Andrew? They don't have any trust in me. They've got a little bit because someone's referred. They will go and look at my LinkedIn, Google me, look at my website, maybe talk to other people, who knows, right? They can do some research. Then they might reach out to me and have a call. They're still only in the warm phase. Even if in the warm phase they say they want to spend money with me, I go, great, let's talk about that. Let's have another call, right? I make them have a space because at the time they've got a height of dopamine. I've probably given them some good advice. They're like, wow, this is amazing. I want them to calm down. Very important that they calm down and critically analyze, am I the right choice? Because then they're choosing us rather than I'm selling to them. Now, I want you to get that distinction. It's really important. So, because if they calm down later on down the track and they've already spent the money, they're going to get post-purchase dissonance, which is when they make the sale and regret it. I don't want that. I want them to do the call, get excited of the prospect of working for us, pause, maybe talk to their significant other, which could be their wife, husband, accountant, dad, son, whatever it is. I want them to have that time to decide logically and emotionally that we're the right partner and go to the next step. And if they do that and go through the warm zone into the hot zone, they've established trust, okay? When they have trust and they want to choose us amongst all the other people. And I go talk to other people, go talk to other marketing people. I tell them, because I want them to purposefully choose us, because if they do, then we have a really great relationship. Then we're starting off the process in the right way, because they don't have any doubts. They've actively chosen us, and they've taken the time, and we haven't rushed them or pushed them through a process. We go through the hot zone, they've got trust, then we work on, okay, what's the first starting point in the sales process? Now, one of my clients who we help write a book for on sales, he calls it a stepping stone deal, as in the deals that get to the big deal. I call it a leading product, the product before the product, right? So then we generally go through, when they go from hot, we go, great, you'd like to work with us, let's do our first piece of work to test whether we work together well. It could be a marketing plan, it could be a website. The last person I was talking to wanted a video. So we do a test case. It's a small amount of discrete work, and what it does is they get used to paying us for our services, they get to see the quality of the services, they get to work with our team, and they build more trust. And it works or it doesn't. Now, to be honest, most of the time it works. So once we do that bit of the process, they generally go on and work with us because we've proven our value. Again, we're trying to avoid post-purchase dissonance, right? This is a marketing term, and you can look it up. But it's a very common thing where people regret or buyers regret, where they regret the decision they've made. We don't want that. We want them to have those emotional moments back out in the warm zone and actively step forward into the sale with us, because then they'll be a long-term client, and then they'll refer us when they get there. So you have to be a little bit fussy. You have to be a little bit patient. You even have to tell the customer no a little bit in terms of working with them. And I kid you not, if you say to a customer who wants to pay you money for a service, I'd love to work with you, but we just want to make sure that we're a great fit, they will respect you far more than if you just took their number, their credit card number. So I would encourage you, if you're a high quality person, to ensure that they're a good fit before you take them on board. Because I've taken the wrong clients on board before. They're not wrong in terms of them, they're just not a good fit for what we do or how we work. And it's caused more angst than it was worth, right? Because it hasn't been a good experience. We've had angst, it didn't work out. The processes weren't in tune. Got to have the right clients on board, because only those ones will give it the good review. If it doesn't work out, you're risking your reputation, bad reviews, and that's not going to build your business in the future. So I've learned from my hard experience many years ago, and when I first started, it's far better to be patient, build your brand, build your assets, and get the right clients on board, and you'll have an amazing business that can grow when you get to that point. So I hope I've made my point in there, and I'm happy to answer more questions about that. But every customer has to go through that steps in the process, okay? Now, I'll take you through how we do it in terms of what steps we do and what marketing we do to get them through that steps as well. Okay. Now, so the phases, we said cold, warm, hot. So I'll take you through some of the examples of the work we do. So let's talk about cold. Now, cold is many things. Now, I say to people who, I debate this. In fact, I run a literal debate. It was many years ago, against someone who was a cold call specialist. And it's a friend of mine, his name's Jordan. He doesn't do that work anymore, but he was saying, I think cold calling is really great. And I'm like, fantastic. If it works, it is great. If it doesn't damage your brand, if it has a high rate of return, fabulous. I'm all up for it. But I just haven't seen that. What I've seen is over the years, it's harder and harder and harder to get people on the phone. I mean, I know I get, cold called by many people all the time. And generally it's not very useful. Now, a cold call is not a warm call. I just want to make that distinction. A cold call means they're not expecting it. They have no idea who you are. They haven't done any activity to expect it. They're just calling you out of the blue. Now, it can work for some things like solar panel installations, or they're changing your shower head, or those sorts of things that might catch you at the right moment. I actually converted on some of them. In fact, in my office right here, they rang up and said, would you like your your fluorescent tube lights to be replaced with LEDs for free? I'm like, how good's that? But we're not offering those sort of services. We're charging what we're worth for our products and services. So therefore, it's a slightly different value proposition. Okay, so cold calling, the stats is about 1 in 100 conversion, and that's not even a sale, right? That's an appointment. So you have to call 100 people to get an appointment, and that appointment would then, probably convert at maybe 1 in 10 to a sale. So that's 1,000 people you have to call. Now, it depends on the industry. It depends on, who's calling. If it's that's an overseas caller. So if you're calling from Australia and you're the CEO, you might get a higher conversion rate. You might get 1 in 10 to an appointment, and you might get 1 in 10 of that. That's still 1 in 100. So if you want to get it, and that means you're actually talking to them, not a try call. That's actually a connected call. So trying to get people on the phone is very difficult. I've got a client who's trying to call me to do business with me. I've called him 4 times, he's called me 4 times, still haven't talked to him, right? It's very hard to get people on the phone. So I don't recommend that strategy. It can work though, and if it works for your industry, fabulous, right? But I just haven't seen the statistics work out. What they don't account for is the people you've annoyed, right? And just remember that. If you're really good and you create a good rapport and brand reputation, fabulous. It's just not the most efficient, and to be honest, business owners don't want to do it. Who wants to get up and make 100 calls and get hung up on every day? I know real estate agents used to do that. It was 100 before 10 or something like that, 100 phone calls before 10 o'clock in the morning or something. They used to have that process. However, I actually worked with a real estate agent in Adelaide who won the Real Estate Marketing Award 2 years in a row from the Adelaide Institute of Real Estate by following our process. People would call her and go, I only want to work with you because they were a brand fit. So I can give you a case study on that later on if you want. Many years ago when I used to do a lot of work there. However, cold marketing comes from a variety of sources. So our process is that if you're really great at something, we need to capture what it is and we need to put it online for people to see. We want to be findable. People have problems and they're looking for solutions. People want to buy things, they just don't want to be sold to. Those people who are looking for a solution generally will use Google. Google's still, 95%, 98% of all searches in Australia. So you need to be findable. Now, this is SEO, but it's a particular type of SEO. It's content SEO. So a couple of tricks to use with that. Firstly, there's 3 brands in any business, and I think I've got a slide later, but I'll bring it up now. There's you, your company, and your product. Now, if you Google, and people will Google you because you're the, if you're a service professional, you count, right? If you're a doctor, if you're an architect, people will get referred to you by name. When I get referrals, it's not to Social Star. They might mention that, but it's to Andrew Ford, and they call me, right? Or Adam. Adam's our creative officer. He got a referral the other day because they don't know me, right? But it wasn't a Social Star. It was to Adam because Adam's good at what he does. So generally, to be an expert by name. So Google your name. Do you come up? What comes up when you come up? Do you have all the things you should have there in order to be findable and have great content? You want that for your company name, which is relatively easy to do, but do you have Google reviews? Do you have positive things that people say about you? If they're Googling your name and you come up with LinkedIn first, have you got reviews on there? Can they actually see you, on LinkedIn? Do you have enough connections for them to be findable on LinkedIn? So we need to think about those sort of pathways at the cold stage. And then for product. Now, getting your product to the top of Google requires some thought. Because if you're an accountant in Melbourne, welcome to the other 22,500 accountants in Melbourne. That's not going to help. But if you're a specialist accountant only working with new funded ventures to help allocate their money more accurately, that's specific, right? So we would brand your product up in a very specific way so that you are findable for your niche and branded product. Now, we productize services. That's our speciality. For instance, if you Google E-ttraction and spell it correctly, E-T-T, you'll find us because we're the only one who does that. And I've trademarked the name, and therefore 8 out of the 10 responses on Google will be us, right? So if you have heard the word attraction, that's great. If you want a website, don't bother. There's tens of thousands of people who make websites. We make websites, but that's not all we do. Now, if we were just going to specialize in websites for a particular niche, we would brand that product up, but that's not what we do. Okay, so you need to brand your product. So those three things is what you need to position in the cold phase so that you're findable for those particular things. Remember that, your name or your team's name, your company name, and your product's name. Okay, now, other ways you can be found is on your social media. LinkedIn gets the highest SEO of any social media for people, so we highly recommend you do that well. And then the next one is your website. If you're lucky enough to be famous, you could have Wikipedia. We've done that for people, and that works really well. If you're an author, you can get Google authorship. That helps as well. So there's various techniques that we do to make that really work. Another really great one is YouTube, which is why we do so many videos, because YouTube's owned by Google and gets extremely high search results for solutions if you do the SEO correctly. So there's lots of different things that we do to be findable, right? Again, letting customers buy from us. These are just some examples with our customer BRI. Okay, now warm. Now people often say, I need a new website. I'm like, okay, why do you need a new website? Oh, I haven't got enough leads. That's later in the process, right? Generally, it's that they're not getting enough people from cold to warm, right? It's actually an SEO and content problem. It's actually not a website problem at all, sometimes. Because when you're warm, right, that's when they go to your website and your social media. If they don't know who you are, they're never going to find your website unless they go through the Google process first, right? So at the warm zone, they're on your media. And part of the content we do, let's say we do, podcasts. Now, warm would be they're on your podcast. Cold would be they're listening to you on other people's podcasts, or other people have recommended your podcast. There's always another step in the process from cold to warm. So the warm is when they're actually slightly interested, but they're still forming trust. They're not sure if you're the right people. They're not sure if they're the right fit. So what they're doing is they've researched, and this could take 10 minutes online, or it could be days, right? So we create high quality content to put our best foot forward when we know they're looking at us to solve their problem. And we want to specifically have great graphics, well recorded videos, blogs, and other content just to explain who we are, what we do, for whom, and how it solves a problem. So that content is critically important. I believe less is more, less high quality content than doing more repeatable content. And in fact, one of my calls today, the guy was like, I'm posting every single day on LinkedIn. I'm like, that's not good for the algorithm. That's not good for your customers. You're far better off holding back that content, doing once a week, high quality post, like a blog. All right. So then we go into hot. Now, hot is where they have trust. So they've already gone through the research phase and they go, I like that person. I think they're credible. They've got something I'm interested in buying, but maybe they just don't have a need. They don't have a compelling thing. A good question to ask if someone's in the hot zone is, if they don't do it, what are the consequences? If they don't buy your product or service, what are the consequences? And if the consequences are none, chances of them converting are lower. Doesn't mean they're not going to do it, but it's lower. So I work with professional speakers a lot, helping them do their marketing. And this is a tough one. If they don't hire me to do this speaking event, what's the consequence? I'll just get someone else, right? And so it's hard to build in those things. If you've got a really unique value proposition, it's far more sticky in this stage. This is when this work really comes to play. So what you want them to do is, there is no one else who can do this as good as you, right? You want to be niche, remarkable, and specific for this customer, that there's no one else who can solve this. I'll give you an example. I've got a large client. It's not BRI, it's a different one. And they wanted to launch a new software product. They've never done it before. I got referred into them. I sat with the CEO and I'm like, so I hear want to launch a software product. They've already got the software. They just haven't launched it as a separate product. And he's like, I've got no experience in software. I don't know what to do. Like, lucky for you, I actually worked in software for many years. I did software marketing at HP for 5 years, taught internationally on software marketing. He's like, well, that's handy. I go, yeah. I've also worked across other products as well. I was at IBM, etc. So I have some experience in that. Plus, I've done a lot of marketing. So, I've got a reasonable idea on how to do that. Plus, I've done an entrepreneurship master that helped a lot of people start and scale a business from scratch, like Tribe, which is a software play, a SaaS play. And so therefore, I'm pretty well positioned to do this. Okay. Now, I've also worked in their specific industry. That's where the referral came from. So once I positioned myself in the first meeting, I became quite sticky because, there's not many people with that unique combination of skills. There'll be people who start businesses. There's people who understand software. There's people who have done any one of those things, but the combination of all of those things made us kind of unique and remarkable, which means the competition is kind of irrelevant, right? So the detriment of them not hiring us is who the hell are they going to go to that they trust, right? And the trust factor from the referral was a big convincing factor. So obviously we've got that business working on that. So in that hot zone, that means they trust you and they're just waiting for an opportunity to work with you. Maybe they want to work with you, just don't have the money, don't have the time, they don't have the specific problem right now, okay? You need an army of people in the hot zone because they're the people who are going to refer you. If they've gone through that process, it doesn't even matter if they've used your service, they will refer you because they know they can trust you. And I've had several people who I went all the way through this that didn't buy, but they referred their friends to come and work with me. That's still a win, right? So we want lots of people in this zone, and it takes time and care and attention in order to get these people to that area. Just remember that, they are people. They're not bots, they're not widgets, they're not prospects in a database. They're people. So we want to treat them like people, and if you do, they'll generally treat you in kind back. Okay, so once you get into the hot zone, that's your goal done. Then you just need offers in order to convert them from hot to sale. Okay. All right. Now, I want to cover this theory from a different perspective because this is actually quite important. If you don't know who this guy is, it's Simon Sinek, who has got a great book and a TED Talk called Start With Why. He says, and his argument is, his hypothesis, is that customers buy why you do something, not how or what. And this is very fundamental to our retraction model. So generally people want to talk about what they do. I'm an accountant. I'm a lawyer. I'm a marketing person. And that's great. But lots of people do that. Why I do it, how I do it might be a great process. E-traction's a great process, 12-step process. We've got it all worked out. But why I do it is actually critically important because that's the icing on the cake. That's what's going to get someone from hot to converted when they believe, right? They believe that your vision for their outcome is bigger than theirs and that you're the person to trust. I can't tell you how many people recently have come to me because they've been burnt by the marketing agencies and they've got low trust. And so I don't push them. I go, great, check me out, read my book, listen to my podcasts, let's have a few conversations. I wait to them to trust us and then we do a little bit. And then they see that it's good and they do a little bit more and a little bit more. One of those clients who I went through that, sort of slower process, she wanted to buy straight away once she formed the trust. But again, we went through the marketing planning process. She's referred someone else, right? Because she saw the difference. Now, she might not have been the right fit and she wouldn't have gone through that entire process, but I wouldn't have signed her up if she was the wrong fit. But she was, and we took our time, and then she's given us 2 referrals since then, right? Because my why is I love helping people like her. It's my passion. It's my, what I get up out of the bed in the morning for is because I love solving marketing problems for these types of people. And so what I encourage you to do is make your niche audience, your target market, very specific to your core passion. Because it's very hard to sell or attract without genuine passion to help. Now, it doesn't mean you want to do it for free. We don't do it for free. People pay us. But they pay us because I would do it for free. And I used to do it for free. I still give lots of people advice at every barbecue I go to. Because it's what I love to do. And people feel that, right? People have got great sense checkers for bullshit. And if I'm trying to convince, they just know straight away. So I don't do it, right? I offer great advice and they come to me because it's helpful, genuinely, because I love to do it. So my encouragement, if you're not selling, is to go, why are you doing it? why do you want to help these people, right? And if you tap into that emotional component, it's far more compelling than any ad or any tangible benefit that you'll get there, because they just won't have the trust. We're still people when we buy from people. Okay, so that's a really important point. Getting towards the end, I've talked about these three brands that we talked about, personal, business, and product. Now, this is exactly how we do it. So this is our expert marketing system that we use for ourselves, and we also work with our clients. So every single thing we tell a client to do, we've done. So, I don't tell a client to do a podcast until I've done a podcast. I've written 2 books. I've done 150 blogs. We do lots of videos. We experiment with things, and when they work, we then make sure that it works for our clients, and then we make it into a product. So we have found to be extremely successful, and I want to tell you why. Now, in other videos or in other webinars, I've presented on this, but this is more I'm going to go into a bit more detail. I think it's really important. So we'll call it the expert marketing system. It's built for professional services people. It's primarily used on LinkedIn and their website. So it takes advantage of SEO. It takes advantage of LinkedIn's SEO and YouTube SEO, because we've got videos as well. Now, the first bit is a video. So we go in and we shoot an hour of content with you, which will last 6 months. So this is very much a time-saving measure. Video is the most richest, best way to go about it. And you need, we've got Adam, luckily, who's an expert at this to capture it really well. Now, by getting video, we only release one a month. So in 6 months, there's 6 videos, obviously. So it's limited amounts of high quality content, and it's very compelling. The reason we have video and then we have a blog, which is written words based on that video, is that there's people who like to digest in different ways. Some people like to watch, some people like to read. So it's based on the audience, but it's also based on Google. So the video gives us YouTube as an additional search result. It gives us a very fast way to digest content with our clients, and a blog is slightly different. A blog goes into your LinkedIn profile and provides a separate link. Now, most people don't know this, but when you do LinkedIn, obviously when you Google someone's name, it can come up as the number 1 link for someone's name. However, when you're doing your product marketing, remember, people, business, and product, when you're doing your product marketing, if you write a blog, so not a post, but a blog or an article, as LinkedIn calls it, on a specific topic, that will appear in Google search separate to your link, separate to your profile. So theoretically, you could have in a search for a product, your name come up, right? Your blog on LinkedIn come up separately. So LinkedIn under your name, your blog separately, and your website, all for the same article, right? Triple the amount of SEO. And I've seen this happen. So we've done a lot of experimentation on this, and it can work an absolute treat if you get the title and the content of your blogs right. The other thing we do is get our blogs into Google snippets. So this is when you Google something and Google gives us sort of the recommendations, sort of the, the accordion, you push the button and it shows you more. That's called a Google snippet. They're all blogs and articles. And we've had great success of getting our customers' blogs into the Google snippet. It looks like Google's recommending you. It's great stuff. So that's why we do a blog and a video separately, even though it's sort of telling you the same things. Then we do 2 posts. One post is external, one post is internal. Now, the reason we do that is that doing an external post is showing your knowledge of the market, the knowledge of the environment, stats, facts, and so forth. If you're a left brain type of person who likes those sort of things, then that would work well with you. Or steel energy, or I think they call it a blue person in disc. So there's different personality profiles, and those sorts of things appeal to some people. Then we do an internal post, and that internal post is more the warm and fuzzies. Here's a new team member, someone getting an award, here's great customer testimonial, something to do with your internal business. And that creates likability. That's right brain. So there's a whole bunch of strategic thinking that has gone into creating these seemingly simple 4 posts a month. They're all different. They'll have their own purpose. And if we do it repeatably and remarkably, it creates a really, really strong brand foundation. And it takes them through cold warm, and hot. Just this one system. Obviously, there's some other things we might do with that, but that's the foundation for your marketing. And so we do this first. It's the first thing we do with our clients, and it works remarkably well just in itself, but then we add other things on top of it, depending on their particular needs. All right, that's all I'm going to talk about. I think it's a lot of content to digest, and I want to answer a few questions if there are. Now, the exact process for attraction, which is 12 steps, is actually detailed in my book. I basically wrote this year. It's everything and all the knowledge that I've acquired over the last 12 years of doing this for professional people. I decided to put it in a book. It's quite thick and it's relatively long, but it's a good reference guide. You can just go to the different section as you feel fit. It's $29.99, and in previous webinars, I've offered this out for only the postage cost, which is $15. And I wasn't going to do it this time because it's now out live and we're just about to do the book launch, but I thought just for this last webinar, I will offer this as a bonus. So for those people who are watching now, or we send the recording out if you're watching this, in the next few days, until my book launch, this will be live. And then after my book launch on the 29th of November, we won't be doing this anymore. We'll then be just doing it as a normal price. It is a well put together book, not because I wrote it, but because I spent a lot of money and time with professionals to get it to the level where it needs to be. And big shout out to Chris, my book coach, who has been working in publishing for 25 years at Penguin and Apple, and he's an absolute expert on books. He turned my content into an amazing product, and that's one of the things that we help our clients with, is these types of products, and we want to make sure they're high value. So there's a one-off. If you're interested in that, go ahead. Great. If not, no problems at all. You can buy one later. So that's what I'm going to cover today. If you want to know more detail on some of these other things, we have done 4 other webinars covering different aspects of the e-traction process. Everyone's got a slightly different take. They're all got the same sort of methodology and feel, but they all go deep dive into one particular area, and this one obviously was in sales. So I hope that was helpful. If there are any other questions, I will take them now. Otherwise, we'll leave you to the rest of your day, and I appreciate your time and attendance, and we look forward to seeing you on the next webinar.